Now, this is a trade that I made, but I want to look at it a little bit more closely, so that uh, I can deduce some of the things that I need to make it into a routine. Okay, that's what I need to do on every trade. On every trade, there are several factors that I need to consider. Number one is risk size, okay, and the stop loss and the entry. Okay, these are the three primary things that I need to consider, and also the trade management part of it afterwards, right? Which can be placed into the stop loss, can be considered into a trade management umbrella. Post entry and risk size also can be considered post trade as well, so that I can routinely make this a systematic means for me to make the trades. The more that I stick to the systematic manner in trading, then it's going to allow me to be more consistent, as I stated yesterday to myself while I was driving to work. Now, verbally looking at the situation here, this is a 5-minute chart and 15-minute chart. So recently, what it had done is it took a dramatic spill based on news. Okay, so it started to drop, bounced off, and created a support at this region here. It created another support here, bounced off, and then today's news caused it to be sent higher today. And then as the news became diluted, then it reached a point of stability at this point where it is established a support area based on this region here. So this news brought it up to this point on a temporary basis and brought it up to the stability region that is here. Now, if I go back to the 5-minute chart, I'm looking at it, it's bullish. It has established itself as a bullish scenario as it was reclaiming. It was reclaiming from where the support is from the previous news to move to this region here before the news came out to alter the trajectory of this forex pair. Okay. Now, having said that, then I'm looking at this time period here where I'm looking at the potential to enter. This is a region of interest that I was in, and it had established so if I look here, if I move it over, it had established a region of the bullish trend that's going up, but the candles were getting smaller and smaller. That should have told me that it was being compressed at this moment. So that's compression. That's one part of it that I need to be taking note of. There's a compression within this area where it is reaching an area of resistance right here. Okay. So now if I expand it out a little bit, okay, on a 1-minute chart, so I'm looking at this. On the left side, I'm looking at that it is trending down after post news. So it came down here, created a support area based on 1, 2, 3 support retests here. And within that period, there is a resistance that was established by this area right here. And it also established another area, establishing and confirming that there is definitely a resistance there. So when I came to this, when I ran into a situation where I am looking to make a trade at this point right here, this is the point where I am attempting to make the trade right here, and this candle was probably green when I entered, which caused it to be afterwards it turned out to be red as it established as as is seen here, right? So what I should have done was looking at that situation, looking at this area to deduce. So what I need to do in thinking ahead is this, okay? All right, so in my mind, I have to think like this. Okay, so it has established, the news already came out. So the number one stimulation to the catalyst to the trading has already occurred, okay? And anything else will be a surprise, which will be handled by the stop loss. That's something that uh, I need to be aware of, right? That's the first part, okay? So the second part is now that I've established the news and the catalyst as being the primary means of adjusting the forex pair price, then what I need to do is establish the areas where support and resistances are to define where the second most powerful means of uh, deflection, the, 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 the forex pair deflection will occur in that region. And so based on looking at this situation on number two is I've already established that this is a very important area, a region of very, very important region of interest. It has been confirmed twice, which means that even though, despite the fact that this already has established a support area and it is moving away from the support area in a bullish manner, this area of entry was inadvisable, ill-advisable, due to the fact that my thesis uh, cannot be confirmed because this is an area where three different things could occur. And to state it bluntly, it's too early for entry in this area. Okay, so that's what happened. And so when I make that trade, there is two other possibilities that I can do based on the way that this moves. It could go sideways, and that means there is a time period that I can set for myself. I can set a stop clock to where I am to determine how I'm going to proceed if it goes sideways. If there is a pullback, that means that there is there's a specific amount of pullback that I'm willing to accept, or the drawdown that I'm willing to accept prior to cutting the loss, cutting the trade. And that's the second consideration that I need to make in any of the trade entry that I make. Now, the other part is when it moves in my direction. Now, what is going to allow me to conclude that the trade is moving in the direction that my thesis has been confirmed in? So that's the third part of consideration that I need to make when I make that trade. So it comes in here, let's say it's moving up. That means that I need to weigh the fact that should I allow the trade to continue to a specific point where I'm willing to take the profit. And that when I'm willing to take a profit, it means that there's going to be uh, at least at least at least one area of stagnation or a pullback or some sort of resistance prior to reaching my profit target. And the second part is taking profit is the second part of that trade. So considering those factors, and each of those steps need to be carefully, specifically, and consistently administered in order to be consistent. That is the definition of consistency. Consistency is going through the process of consistently going through the step-by-step process of completing from beginning to the end. That is consistency. Making small changes to that consistency will retain that consistency, but it fine tunes the system that I've set in order to proceed forward. Now, Then there's several things that I need to consider. And lastly, one of the things that I need to consider is once the trade moves in my direction, now, what do I do about that? Okay, so when it moves in my direction, now, how do I consider something is moving in my direction and I need to add? So how do I consider that into my trading? And what is the reason that I'm not adding? Uh, is it the limit that I've established at the maximum risk level that I have, or has the uncertainty of that particular point in space of profit target, is that profit area, has it reached the point where adding on more risk is ill-advisable? That's the consideration that I have. That means that at the end of the point where my trade is moving towards my thesis, that I need to consider the the profit point at that point to say that is it going to reach to the point where I've set my profit target, or is it going to reach somewhere, obviously somewhere in between, where a trend reversal could occur based on certain criteria, such as somehow there could be some news that comes in that, or some sort of market conditions that could cause that particular time period to to be shortened before it reaches a profit target. And at that point, then I need to take profit. Taking profit at that point has to be established before it goes into the point where I have set my profit target, and it has to be set based on certain criterias and the behavior of the candlestick. Now, that is the completion of that single trade that I make. That is a step by step from beginning to point A to point B, where point B is the finish line and point A is the starting line. And when I consistently perform that routine, then I will be consistent. And that consistency is going to be translated directly into my trading consistency. Now, the other part of making the trade is if the trade is moving against my thesis and is moving in the other direction, then I have to not necessarily on a quickly, but I have to analyze a new or come up with a new thesis to define how that path is going to continue, or perhaps my calculation for the stop loss has been uh, underestimated. Okay, and so I have to define whether the trade that I will be making post that stop loss, considering that as a new trade going forward. Now, what I have to do is document this again and make it as crystal clear as possible right here.